So, I want to talk about cannabis use and shamanic practices. So, right off the bat, I just want to get right into it. So, right off the bat, what I've noticed, so I've been researching shamanism and psychedelics, and I've personally, been diving deep with psychedelics and things like that for about 5 years now. And I've been researching them for about six. So, literally, almost every day, I'm researching some type of philosophy, some type of psychedelic thing, shamanism. Um, I'm the type of guy that in my free time, when I'm just sitting here laying down doing nothing in my free time, I'm still learning about shamanism. I'm watching videos about shamanism. I'm doing research about different plants and herbs. So researching shamanism, it seems like all these different shamans I've heard talk about cannabis, it seems like they have this weird negative view against cannabis. And I don't necessarily want to say it's negative, but me and my friend were going to an ayahuasca resort sometime this summer. But really what we're trying to do is we're trying to find an ayahuasca resort, one that's honestly acceptant of cannabis, for lack of a better word. I looked up the laws in Peru, and you can have 8 grams of cannabis. Like, each person can have 8 grams of cannabis legally. Um, so I was gonna get 8 grams. I was gonna have my friend get 8 grams. If our other friend goes with us, we'll have him get 8 grams, and that should be enough for us to have a 9, 10, 11, 12 day experience down there. I think we'll go, and this is the thing. I've been trying to look at different resorts and different things, and I don't know. I found resorts that do San Pedro. I found resorts that do ayahuasca. I found resorts that do both. But I don't know. It sucks because the shamans. I found a couple that seem to have really amazing shamans, like legitimate, just amazing, kind-hearted, loving, good, great intention type shamans. But I was looking at their resort, and their resort, like, it tells you what you cannot eat, like, don't eat this stuff, don't eat this, no drugs, 2 weeks before, no, and it also says no cannabis 2 weeks before. But my weird view on this is that, and I don't mean to whatever, but I've never heard anyone talk about this, so I'm gonna just bring it up. Why did it not say 2 weeks no tobacco? Like, and I think, like, I get that tobacco is used shamanically, by the shamans in South America, but I'm in North America, here in America, in the USA. Tobacco is a substance that has killed hundreds of thousands of people. Here in the USA, we don't use tobacco shamanically, spiritually. People just use it to calm their nerves. And my argument is, like, we have now science to back up that the molecules in cannabis are probably some of the safest molecules ever researched. Like, cannabis is one of the safest plants that they have ever researched. So, but if you compare the safety next to tobacco, it's almost unanimous that cannabis is so much safer health-wise. Now, I worry that the view that the Western world has had on cannabis, that it's a drug and that it's this and that, and because it's illegal, and we have this weird view of things that are illegal. We think because, oh, they're illegal, they're bad. But we don't have that same view with ayahuasca, because ayahuasca is illegal right where I'm at. So, DMT is illegal right where I'm at. So, I don't know. I guess I slightly understand because there are some people that abuse cannabis. But that's why I feel like, why is there a double standard? Why is there a double standard with cannabis and tobacco? Almost everyone here in America that uses tobacco is addicted. Heavily. And so many people that I know that smoke cigarettes have told me so many times, I'm so glad you don't smoke cigarettes, don't ever start. They've told me so many times, don't ever start. Because that's my issue. I don't ingest tobacco. I smoke cannabis. Because when I did ingest tobacco, I was addicted. I never smoked cigarettes, but I would roll up my cannabis in a tobacco wrap, and I would smoke that. And I would smoke like 3, 4, 5 of those a day. Now, I could take one hit out of a bong, and I'll be good for hours. I'll take about 3 to 4 to 5, hits out of a bong of cannabis a day. That's it. I don't smoke that much anymore. There have been times where I quit, because I was abusing it. But it's like, now I use it as a spiritual tool. Everything I use is a spiritual tool. I feel like every single plant should be treated the same, and I feel like we should stop discriminating against cannabis, because if anything, I would be if I was down in the Amazon, if I was born in the Amazon, I would be a cannabis shaman. And technically, if I was born in the Amazon, I'd probably smoke tobacco like everyone else, but at the same time, I just know who I am, and who I am is, I'm someone who uses cannabis for the same reason why shamans smoke tobacco. I'm someone who has a beautiful relationship with cannabis. It's not like, I don't know. Cannabis was the first thing that's entered my life. Long before psychedelics, long before DMT, way before anything else, was cannabis. And then one of the first times I used cannabis, I was talking about how it made me feel closer to the Creator. It made me feel closer to what I would call God. And I remember my friends laughing at me in the studio. We were all in the studio just rapping, smoking, Dutch after Dutch. And I was just sitting there high as fuck, just sitting there thinking to myself, like, wow, like, I feel closer to God. And it was just a weird thought for me to have, because it was one of the first, it was way before I got back into having faith in God, because at one point in my life, I lost faith in God. But recently, not recently, about 5 years ago, after my use of DMT and other psychedelics, I've regained my connection with what I would call God. And cannabis, honestly, for me, is like the great potentiator. Cannabis has been there for almost every single psychedelic experience I've ever had. And I've had hundreds of psychedelic experiences, but yet some people say that cannabis, affects the trip negatively, or it changes the trip. Well, I'm sorry to say it, but so does tobacco. Tobacco changes the trip as well. It helps, a lot of people say that it helps ground them back down to a baseline level that they are familiar with. That's the same thing that cannabis does for me. If I'm tripping really hard, and if I'm really in it with in deep with a psychedelic experience, then cannabis just helps bring me back down to baseline. It brings me back to, well, not necessarily baseline, but back down to a level where I'm familiar with, it just grounds me a little bit. And tobacco does the same thing. And because I feel like it's all about intention. Like, what is your intention with the plant? And, I've heard Graham Hancock talk about his relationship with cannabis and how he went down and drank ayahuasca, and, he just kind of realized he had a bad relationship with cannabis. But I feel like over the years, I've just come to realize that the relationship I have with cannabis is a pretty healthy one. Last year, my relationship with kratom, on the other hand, for a little bit, it was an unhealthy relationship. But So I'm just saying that I know myself and I know what plants I have an unhealthy relationship with, what plants I have a healthy relationship with. And if I have an unhealthy relationship with a plant, I stop using it. As simple as just me, stop using it. But, hold on. Still dying from that hat. But I think that it's okay to use cannabis. Just like it's okay for the shamans to use tobacco. Because, they're just plants. And I don't know, maybe it's just I don't like to. I try to look at the whole big perspective, right? And the big perspective is what's the difference between cannabis and tobacco? They both have a soul. And honestly, to be completely honest, the main difference I just thought about when I just said that is the fact that tobacco has been related to many hundreds of thousands of deaths. Cannabis has been related to 0 deaths. So that right there almost just proves to me as well. The 2 times that I've used ayahuasca, it was capsuled ayahuasca, and I've smoked cannabis on it. So I know that, cannabis, can be used with it. And I didn't need that much. I didn't smoke that much cannabis on it. But like I said, it's just the great potentiator for me. So I use it shamanically to help potentiate my shamanic experiences. Whether it's to ground me or to help push me farther to whatever it is. Because cannabis also can help face your demons. Because high doses of cannabis alone can get you a little, not necessarily anxious, but you know what I mean. But I like to face my demons, and I like to push the boundaries, and cannabis has just been that thing that's been with me throughout the whole way. So I just am looking for a resort now that accepts someone who's gonna smoke cannabis, and if not, I mean, I guess I'm willing to not use cannabis for 9 days. It's whatever, but it's just that it's just the inconvenience that it's I hate that plants are suppressed, and I feel people can say that that's just the way it is for them and that's their resort, and yeah, but if you suppress tobacco, I'll be okay with you suppressing cannabis. But if you're not going to suppress tobacco, then I'm not okay with someone suppressing cannabis use. Because cannabis use is not addictive. It's psychologically addictive. But nicotine is known to be physically addictive. It's known to be actually addictive. It's just, I just don't understand, I guess, is why I think that you should be able to use cannabis just like the shamans use tobacco. But thank you guys so much for watching. To all my cannabis shamans out there, my cannabis lovers, my cannabis users, my cannonauts, I hope you all have an amazing night. Peace out, everyone.